My daughter sold my villa to pay off her husband's debts and called me homeless. I did not shout. I did not cry. I smiled, nodded, and walked away from the house where I had planned to die next to my wife's rose bushes. When they finished celebrating their great solution, when the debts were paid and the champagne glasses were empty, they discovered they had made the worst financial mistake of their lives. Because while they thought they had taken my last home, they forgot one simple detail. I was the one who had taught them how money really works. But before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My name is Frank Miller. I am 69 years old, widower, grandfather of 2. I have spent 40 years building houses for other people and one special house for myself. We called it the Villa, but it was really just a large lake house on the north side of Lake Chandler in California. Stone terrace, cedar roof, big windows over the water. I built it with my own crew when I was 48. My wife Linda chose every tile. I poured the concrete for the dock myself. For her, it was the place to watch the sunset. For me, it was the only place that ever felt completely mine. Or at least, that was what I believed. The day everything began, I was driving up to the lake with a weekend bag in the back seat and a pie on the passenger side. My granddaughter Emily had called me the night before. "Grandpa, are you going to the lake this weekend?" she asked. She is 8 with Linda's brown eyes. "I am," I told her. "I'm going to make pancakes and try to catch that big trout that keeps laughing at me." She giggled. "Bring me a picture if you catch it." So I left Sacramento early, before the heat. 2 hours on the road, the familiar turns, the narrow highway that opens to the first glimpse of blue water. Every time it calmed me. The lake had been there before me and would stay after me. That thought used to give me peace. Then I turned onto my own road and stopped. There was a white SUV in the driveway, a pickup truck behind it, a moving van at the curb. My old wooden Miller Retreat plaque lay in the flower bed, half covered in dirt. In its place there was a bright red and white sign. Sold. I pulled over so fast the tires spat gravel. Maybe I read it wrong, I thought. Maybe it was for the neighbor's place. Maybe... The front door opened. My daughter Megan stepped out onto the porch in a sundress and sandals, her blonde hair in a loose knot, a phone in her hand. Beside her, Darren, her husband, appeared in his usual too-tight polo shirt, holding a box. Behind them, 2 strangers in expensive sunglasses were walking through my living room. One pointed at my stone fireplace. The other smiled. The woman turned, smiled politely, and waved at the real estate agent standing beside my azaleas. They were touring my house. "Megan?" I called, my voice already dry. She looked down, saw my truck, and for a moment her face froze. Then she pasted on a bright smile and came down the steps. "Dad," she said, like she had just bumped into me at the grocery store, "you weren't supposed to come today." I climbed out of the truck and shut the door carefully. My knees reminded me I was not 40 anymore. "What is this?" I asked. I pointed at the sign, at the strangers in my living room, at the van with my furniture inside. Her eyes flicked to the buyers, then to the agent, then back to me. "We're closing today," she said. It all happened very fast. "Closing what?" I asked. "Megan, whose sold sign is that?" She shifted the phone from one hand to the other. "It's done, Dad. We sold the villa." For a few seconds I did not understand the words. They were English, but they did not make sense. "We," I repeated. "Who is we?" She sighed, already impatient. "Dad, please, don't make a scene. The buyers are here." Darren came down to stand behind her, his large frame filling the top step. He looked tired and annoyed. "Frank," he said, "we didn't have much choice. You know how it is." "No," I said slowly. "I don't. That's my house. You are standing on my porch." The real estate agent came over, smelling like too much perfume and commission checks. "Mr. Miller," she said in a smooth voice. "Congratulations. This is a great sale. Given your age, it's really the right time to downsize. And with your daughter handling everything, it's been very smooth. I stared at her. My age, I repeated. Megan turned to her. Could you give us a minute, please? Just finish inside with the coals, okay? Of course. The agent smiled, but her eyes were sharp. She went back into the house. I could see the couple, the Coles, looking at my walls, at Linda's pictures, at the painting she loved in the hallway. The man reached up and tested the ceiling beam that I had raised with my own hands. My stomach turned. Megan, I said quietly. Explain, now. She took a breath like she was about to do something brave. Dad, I had power of attorney from when you had your surgery last year, she said. You remember. You signed the papers so I could help if anything happened. Well, something did happen. Darren's business hit a wall. The trucking contracts vanished. We had debts, real debts. They were going to take our house, his truck, everything. You weren't listening. You kept saying, "No more loans, Megan." I said that, I agreed. Because I've bailed you out 5 times already. Her jaw clenched. So I used the villa. The market is high. It's just sitting here empty most of the time. We sold it, paid off the worst of the debt, and we'll start fresh. You'll get some money too, of course. We aren't monsters. Darren folded his arms. It was the logical asset, he said. Nobody needs a vacation place at your age, Frank. You should be thinking about nursing homes, not docks and fishing rods. My hands were cold. That power of attorney, I said, was for paying my bills if I couldn't, not for selling my house behind my back. Megan shrugged, but I saw the flash of guilt. The lawyer said it was valid, she insisted. We talked to him. I'm your only child. It's all going to come to me anyway. We just did it early. Without asking, I said. She looked away. Dad, we didn't have time. The collectors were calling. Darren has people after him. There were threats. You don't understand that world. Then she turned back, and there it was, the sentence that burned itself into my memory. Anyway, it's done now. The villa is gone. We're signing the final papers this afternoon. Your check will be wired to your account tomorrow. You're not going to be out on the street. We're not heartless. But you have to accept it. She paused, looked at my old truck, my worn shirt, my hands. Face it, Dad. Without this place, you're basically homeless. You live in a house that's falling apart. You can't manage 2 properties. This is better for everyone. Learn to be grateful for once. Basically homeless. The words hit harder than any punch. I looked up at the house. In the living room, the buyer woman was standing by the big window, admiring the view. The man had his arm around her. They were already imagining their lives here. Their kids running down to the dock, their Christmas tree in the corner, my Christmas tree. Linda's rose bushes were trimmed back, ready for spring. We planted them together the year before she died. She had stood right where that woman was standing now and told me, no matter what happens, this will always be your place to breathe. Apparently my daughter disagreed. Megan, I asked, did you ever stop to think what this place is to me? She stiffened. Dad, don't start with the guilt. I know Mom liked it here. I know you 2 built it together. But she's gone. We're alive. We're drowning. You have assets. We needed help. And instead of asking, I said, you stole. Her eyes sparked with anger. Don't you dare call me a thief, she hissed. I am your daughter. I have taken care of you for years. I invite you to dinner. I bring the kids to see you. You come when you need money, I corrected. Darren stepped between us a little. Look, he said, what's done is done. The buyers are signing at 3. The money is already allocated. Half of it went straight to the bank this morning. The other half is paying off some people I'd rather not talk about with you. You'll get something. Be happy with that. He gave me a sharp little smile. And hey, if you really are homeless, we can always clear out a corner in our garage. I hear concrete floors are good for posture. He laughed at his own joke. I watched my daughter. She looked tired, angry, like a woman who had been putting out fires for months and had learned to harden herself. And yet she still stood on my porch. "Megan," I said softly, "is this really what you want?" "What I want," she snapped, "is for you to stop acting like the victim. We saved ourselves. We helped you. You should be thanking us. You'll have cash. You can rent an apartment. What more do you want at your age?" She pointed at my truck. "Go home, Dad. Sign whatever they send you. Don't embarrass me in front of these people." There was a time when that sentence would have broken me completely. But something inside me had already shifted. I looked at her, at Darren, at the moving boxes with my handwriting on them. I listened to the faint sounds of the buyers inside admiring my kitchen cabinets. And very quietly, I felt something old wake up in my chest. The part of me that had built businesses from nothing. The part of me that understood numbers better than most men understand their own children. "All right," I said. Megan blinked. "What?" "I said all right," I repeated. "You're adults. You made your choice. I'm old. I don't know anything, remember? I'll go home now." I turned and walked back to my truck. "Dad, don't make it dramatic," she muttered behind me. "It's just a house." I opened the truck door, placed my weekend bag on the seat, and put the pie gently beside it. Then I looked back over my shoulder. "It was never just a house," I said. "But you'll learn that the hard way." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever." I drove away. I did not look in the mirror to watch them. But I watched the sold sign in my side window until the road curved and the villa disappeared. The drive back to Sacramento felt longer. I did not turn on the radio. I thought of every late night I had driven up that road to fix leaky pipes and broken heaters for my daughter and her friends when they used the place in college. Of the time Darren's buddies broke the stair rail and I told myself, "They're young, let it go." Of the checks I had written over the years. The first loan for Darren's can't-fail trucking business. The second loan when the first loan somehow evaporated. The line of credit I had opened so they could float expenses between contracts. All those zeros. I pulled into my small bungalow on Jackson Street just as the sun was dipping. My ordinary house suddenly felt like a stranger. The paint was peeling. The porch step creaked, a window in the back sticking again. I had been spending all my time and money on the villa. This place had become the neglected cousin. I went straight to my office. It was a small room with an old oak desk, a file cabinet, and a safe in the closet. Linda's photo was on the shelf. She was smiling in front of the lake house, holding a cup of coffee, wearing my old flannel shirt. I sat down and opened the top drawer. The papers were exactly where I had left them. I pulled out the power of attorney Megan had made me sign when I went in for heart surgery last year. "Just in case, Dad," she had said, "so I can pay your bills if you're out of it." I had been scared, tired, and grateful. I signed without reading every line. Now I read every line. Then I pulled out the thin folder labeled Megan and Darren, Loans. 4 promissory notes, all signed by both of them, all notarized. Clear amounts, clear dates, clear conditions. Total, $420,000. And then there was the big one. I unlocked the safe and took out a thick envelope. Inside was a single deed of trust and a note for $380,000. That was the second mortgage on their suburban house in Elk Ridge. When they bought it 5 years ago, their income was not enough to get the bank's approval for the full amount, so I had helped. "Dad, we'll never be able to repay you fully," Megan had said. "That's why we write it down," I told her. "So nobody fights later. You two pay what you can each month. If I die, it's clear on paper. No arguments, no regrets." They had paid irregularly for a year, then less, then almost nothing. I had let it slide because I was busy missing my wife and trying to adjust to walking into a silent kitchen every morning. Now I looked at the numbers again. If I called that loan in, their house would be in trouble. It was already tied to the first mortgage with the bank and my second one behind it. I leaned back in my chair. Homeless. The word crawled in my mind. I opened another folder. This one said, Lake Chandler Villa. Title. The most recent document inside was a copy of the original deed, 30 years old, with my name and Linda's. Behind it, there were the documents from 3 years ago, when Linda got sick and insisted we put things in order. She had begged me to sign a transfer on death deed listing Megan as the person who would get the villa when we both were gone. You know she loves this place, Linda had said. It will help her. We can't take it with us. I had resisted. But in the end, I signed. Our lawyer, an old friend named Howard, had suggested a different structure, but I had gone with Linda's feelings. After Linda died, I did not change anything. I did not update the deed. I did not add any new names. I just kept paying taxes and sitting on the porch alone. Then came the surgery, the power of attorney, and now, this. I called Howard. He answered on the second ring. Frank, he said, you're catching me before dinner. What's going on? Howard, I said, if someone uses a power of attorney to sell a house that wasn't supposed to be sold, how hard is it to unwind? He was quiet for a moment. Who sold what? He asked carefully. I told him, not all the details, just the basics. My daughter, my villa, the power of attorney, the buyers signing at 3. He whistled softly. That's messy, he said. We'd have to see the exact wording, and it depends what the buyers knew. If they're innocent purchasers, it gets complicated. It could be tied up for years. You could make life hell for them, for your daughter. You might even win eventually, but you'd be paying me a small fortune. No offense, I said, but paying you a small fortune is not my idea of justice. He chuckled once, softly. Can you stop the closing? He asked. If I show up? I said. Yes, if I put my foot down now, I think I can. Then why are you calling me instead of driving back there? He asked. I looked at Linda's photo. I'm trying to decide what hurts more, I said. Losing the house, or watching my daughter lose hers. There was silence on the line. Frank, he said slowly, you've helped them more than most parents help their kids in 10 lifetimes. You have those promissory notes, right? And the deed of trust? I do. You could enforce them. You could ruin them. Or you could walk away. You have to decide who you want to be. I thought about that while he talked about options, lawsuits, injunctions, all the things I told you I'd keep to a minimum. To be honest, I only half listened. Because another thought had started forming in the back of my mind, simple and clear. They think I have nothing now, I realized. They think this villa was my last card. They think I am an old man with one house and a heartbreak. They have no idea. Because the truth, which I had not said out loud in years, was this. The Lake Villa was my favorite property, but it was not my only property. I had 5 rental houses in Sacramento, fully paid off, 2 small commercial buildings, half an interest in a storage facility, savings, investments. I was not rich like the people on television, but I was far from helpless, and they had just made one big mistake. They had shown me exactly how far they were willing to go for money, so I decided to show them how it feels when the person you depend on stops playing the fool. That decision was my second hook, the one that changed everything that followed. Because from that moment, I stopped thinking like a father who wanted to be loved, and started thinking like the businessman I used to be. That night, I slept badly. I dreamed of Linda standing on the dock, shaking her head. About time, she said in the dream. I did not raise you to be a doormat, Frank. In the morning, I made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table and made a list. Let the sale go through, deal with the loans, change the will, protect the grandchildren. I put my old reading glasses on and started. First, the villa. At 9 a.m., Megan called. I let it ring twice before answering. Dad, she said, breathless. Listen, about yesterday, I know it was a shock. But we have the closing today. The buyers are happy. The agent says everything is clean. I need you to sign the final acknowledgement when the paperwork comes, okay? Her voice trembled just enough to show me she was worried. She knew I could blow up the deal. What happens if I don't? I asked calmly. Dad, don't do this, please. Darren talked to some people last night. They want the rest of their money. Today. If the sale doesn't close, we're in real danger. You don't get it. These aren't nice banks. You used my house for that kind of debt? I asked. You weren't using it, she snapped. And we had no choice. There it was again. No choice. Everyone always has a choice. But I did not say that. Instead, I asked, if I sign, do I get any say in how you use my portion of the money? Your portion? She repeated. Yes, my portion. That was my house. She hesitated. The money is already divided, she said finally. We had to do it this way for the creditors. You'll get a lump sum, but it won't be the full amount. How much? I asked. She named a number. It was less than half of what the villa was worth. So I carried you for years, I said. And now, when you sell my house, I get less than half. Dad, can you stop talking like that? She begged. Please, I can't handle this today. Just say you'll sign. I looked at my list. Send the papers, I said. I'll read them. If they're clean, I'll sign. Relief flooded her voice. Thank you, she said. You won't regret it. Maybe not, I said. But you might. She did not understand. She just murmured something about being late and hung up. At noon, a courier arrived with a thick envelope from the title company. I read every page. The buyers were innocent. The agent had done her job. The bank was already wired for most of the money. If I blocked it, it would become a war with everyone, including people Darren had described as not banks. I have seen what desperate men can do at construction sites, in bad neighborhoods, late at night. I decided I was not going to stand between those men and Darren's face. Fine, I said aloud. I signed. The villa slipped out of my hands like sand. I poured myself another cup of coffee. Then I pulled out the folder labeled Megan and Darren again. Let's see who is homeless now, I murmured, and I called Howard back. I signed, I told him. Let the villa go. I'm not going to fight that part, but I want to enforce every other paper they ever signed with me. He whistled again. All of them? He asked. All of them, I said. Within the law. No more free rides. Are you sure? He asked. Because once we start, we can't easily stop. This will hurt them. I am sure, I said. I have spent 10 years being the nice father. Yesterday my daughter sold my house and called me homeless. Today, I'm done being nice. Then bring me the documents, he said. We'll do it clean, brief, no endless arguing in court. There are ways to apply pressure without living in a courtroom. That was what I wanted. Pressure, not drama in front of judges. We met that afternoon in his office. He looked at every note, every deed. His eyebrows went up higher with each page. They've been living on your money for a long time, he said quietly. Yes. They stopped paying 2 years ago, he said, on everything. Yes. He leaned back. All right, he said. Here is the simple version. We file notices of default on the second mortgage. We demand full repayment on the promissory notes. We give legal deadlines. 30 days. 90 days. We offer payment plans. On paper only. Nothing verbal. If they can't pay, we move to the next step. Which is? I asked. Foreclosure on the house, he said. And collection on the rest. Bank accounts. Income. Whatever there is. We keep it precise. No shouting, no threats. Numbers. Letters and timelines. How long? I asked. Some months, he said. Maybe half a year. But they will feel it fast. The first letter will scare them. I don't want them hurt physically, I said. I don't want the kids hungry, but I want them to feel something very simple. What? He asked. The difference between help and dependence, I said. And what happens when the person you call a burden stops carrying your weight? He nodded slowly. We can do that, he said. He slid a stack of forms across the desk. Sign here, Frank. I signed. I walked out into the bright parking lot feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I had just thrown a switch. Nobody heard it click. But they would feel the lights go out soon enough. The first letter went out a week later. I know because Megan called me the same evening. Dad, she said, her voice high and thin. What is this? I don't know, I said mildly. What are you holding? A notice of default, she snapped. From Howard's office, about the second mortgage. It says if we don't bring the loan current in 30 days, you can start foreclosure proceedings. That sounds about right, I said. Dad, she cried. You can't do this. We just got back on our feet. We sold the villa. We sacrificed. And now you want to take our house too? Sacrificed? I repeated. You sacrificed my house. We had no choice, she said again. You always have a choice, I said. You could have cut your spending years ago. You could have told Darren no once in your life. You could have gotten a job that wasn't temporary. You could have sold your SUV instead of my dock. But you chose the easiest option, every time. We're paying people right now, she said. We can't pay you too. You're my father. You're supposed to support me. I did, I said. For a very long time. Now I am supporting myself. You have more than we do, she said bitterly. You don't need it. That was true 3 weeks ago, I answered. But according to you, I'm basically homeless now, so I need every dollar I can get. Silence. Dad, she said at last, you're punishing me because I did what I had to do. No, I said. I'm holding you to the promises you made. Fine, she said stiffly. We'll talk to Darren. He'll figure something out. I'm sure he will, I said. We hung up. I did not tell her I had already talked to the bank, because while I was letting the villa go, I was also doing one more thing. I was buying their first mortgage. Darren had bragged for years about his great relationship with his lender. He had no idea that big banks sell their loans like grocery stores sell milk. One phone call from me to an old contact, a man who owed me a professional favor from the construction days, gave me the information I needed. Within 3 weeks, a small local investment company had purchased Megan and Darren's first mortgage from their original lender. Within another week, I had purchased that mortgage from the investment company. Sometimes money talks. Sometimes history talks louder. In plain language, I now held both the first and second mortgage on their house. I was the bank. I did not tell them. Not yet. I just waited. The second letter went out on a Friday. This one was stronger. It listed amounts, dates, and what would happen if the defaults were not cured. I spent that weekend at home. I did not visit. I did not call. On Sunday afternoon, my phone rang again. Darren this time. Frank, he said without greeting. His voice was tight. We got your lawyer's second letter. What the hell is this? A follow-up, I said, in case you missed the first. You can't foreclose on your own family, he snarled. Legally, I can, I said. Morally, I probably should have done it years ago. We just paid off the worst debts, he barked. We used that money to clear things. We're just getting stable. You're going to destroy that. No, I said. You already destroyed your stability. I am just stopping you from using my assets as your cushion. I'll sue, he said. I'll tell the court you took advantage of us. You signed everything in front of a notary, I reminded him. 3 different times. You're a grown man, Darren, not a child. He cursed softly. You're doing this to get back at Megan, he said. Because she sold your stupid house. You are petty, you know that? Maybe, I said. But petty or not, the numbers are real. He was breathing hard. Fine, he said at last. We'll find another way. We always do. I hope you do, I said, for the sake of the kids. That was not an empty sentence. I meant it. I did not want my grandchildren sleeping in a car, but I also knew something they did not know. If they found another way, it would not come from me. Life went on. The villa was now occupied by the Coles. Sometimes, out of habit, I opened my phone and looked at old photos of the place. I did not drive by. I did not want to see someone else's chairs on my deck. Instead, I worked on my own house. I hired a small crew to fix the paint, repair the porch, replace the back window. I paid cash. The men were younger than my son-in-law, but they listened when I explained how I wanted the trim done. One of them, a tall kid named Rob, asked, "Mr. Miller, you ever think about selling this place? The market is crazy. You could move into a nice condo and let somebody else worry about the repairs." I looked around my small kitchen, the single-story layout, the simple yard. "That's exactly what I'm thinking about," I said. In August, that is what I did. I called a different agent than the one who had sold the villa. A woman recommended by a neighbor. Straightforward. Less perfume. We listed the bungalow at a fair price. It sold in 10 days. When Megan heard through the family grapevine, she came to see me. "Why are you selling your house?" she demanded as soon as she walked in. No hello, no hug. "Because it's falling apart," I said calmly. "And at my age, I'd rather have an elevator than stairs." "Where are you going to live?" she asked. "In a condo I'm buying downtown," I said. "Close to the river. There's a grocery store across the street and a little park nearby. I even get a view." "You're buying?" she said, like it was a crime. "With what money?" "My own," I said. "The one thing in this story that actually belongs to me." She flinched. "You could have asked me for help," she said after a moment. "We would have figured something out." "You're already figuring things out with the letters from Howard," I said. "I didn't want to give you more work." Her mouth tightened. "You're really going through with this foreclosure nonsense?" she asked. "It's not nonsense," I said. "You are 3 years behind. That's not a mistake. That's a lifestyle." "We're trying to catch up," she said. "Darren is doing odd jobs. I got a part-time position at the dentist's office. We're working hard." "That's good," I said. "Hard work is healthy." "Can't you just forgive the debt?" she whispered. "You're my father. That's what family does." "Family does not sell each other's houses behind their backs," I said. She stared at me with eyes too much like Linda's. "Do you hate me now?" she asked. I shook my head. "I don't hate you," I said. "But I'm done saving you from your own decisions." She wiped her face quickly and stood up. "You'll regret this," she said. "When you're in some tiny apartment alone while we're struggling out here, you'll regret pushing us away." "Maybe," I said softly. "Time will tell." She left. I watched her drive away in her large SUV with dark-tinted windows. A car that cost more than the first house Linda and I bought. The foreclosure process moved forward. There were no dramatic confrontations on courthouse steps, no screaming matches in hallways. There were letters, deadlines, numbers. We gave them every legal chance. We sent payment plan offers. We sent reminders. They paid small amounts here and there, never enough. Their new jobs did not cover their lifestyle. Within 6 months, the formal notice went out. The house would be sold at auction. That was the day Darren showed up at my new condo. It was a clear Saturday morning. I was on the balcony with a cup of coffee, looking at the river and the small park where children were playing. The doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Darren in jeans and a wrinkled shirt, his hair uncombed. I had never seen him look small before. "Frank," he said. "No jokes this time." "Come in," I answered. He stepped inside the bright living room and looked around. "You did well," he muttered. "This place is nice." "It is," I agreed. "Would you like some coffee?" He shook his head. "I saw the date," he said, "on the last letter. They're going to sell our house in 30 days. "That's the schedule," I said. "You can stop it," he said. "You know you can." "Yes," I said. "I can." We stood there in silence for a moment. "Why are you doing this?" he burst out. "Because of the villa? Is that it? You're willing to put your own daughter and grandchildren on the street because of some vacation house?" "I'm doing this," I said slowly, "because I spent 10 years carrying you both. I gave you loans instead of vacations. I co-signed your mortgages instead of buying myself new trucks. I paid for your mistakes. And when I finally said no, you sold the one place that meant something to me without asking. We paid off debts," he argued. "Dangerous ones. You don't get it. You saved us too, in a way, by letting that sale happen. And now," I said, "I am saving myself. I am done funding a man who keeps walking into fires and then expects everyone else to burn with him." His face twisted. "We'll be homeless," he said. I looked at him. It was the first time I saw real fear in his eyes. "And how did you think I felt?" I asked quietly. "When your wife looked me in the eye in front of my own house and told me I was basically homeless now?" He swallowed. She didn't mean it," he said weakly. "She did," I said. "She meant every word, because she believed you would always find someone else to save you. Her father. Maybe her children later. Someone." "We have kids," he said. "Emily and Josh. They're innocent. They don't deserve this." "On that, we agree," I said. "They are innocent. That's why my plans involve them." He frowned. "What does that mean?" I gestured toward the sofa. "Sit down," I said. He sat like a man going into a meeting with a judge. "First," I said, "you need to know something. The bank that holds your first mortgage changed. 2 months after those first letters, your loan was sold." "Yeah," he said. "We got a notice about that, some investment company. I called them. They said nothing would change. Just a different address for payments." "Correct," I said. "And then, a month later, that company sold the loan again." He squinted. "To who?" "To me," I said. He stared. "What?" "I own your first mortgage," I said. "And your second. I am the one you pay your house to. I am the one who can forgive it. Or not." His mouth opened and closed. You bought our debt?" he stammered. "Why?" "Because I was tired of waiting for other people to do what I knew needed to be done," I said. "I wanted control. I wanted to decide whether my grandchildren grow up watching their parents abuse everyone around them, or watching their parents finally face reality." He put his head in his hands. "So this auction," he whispered, "is my decision," I said. "Not some nameless bank, not some stranger. Me." He looked up. "You would do that to your own family?" "You already did it to yourself," I said softly. "I just stopped protecting you from consequences." We were quiet. He shook his head. "I misjudged you," he said. "I thought you were just a soft old man with a lake house and some savings." "That's what my daughter thought too," I said. He laughed once, without humor. "What do you want, Frank?" he asked finally. "Tell me what you want and I'll try to do it." "I want you," I said, "to move out of the house before the auction. Calmly. Without drama. Take the kids. Find a rental that you can afford on your actual income. No more big SUVs. No more country club. No more pretending. I want you to start living the life you actually have, not the one you keep trying to fake." "And if we do?" he asked. "If you do," I said, "then when the house sells, I will put a portion of the surplus into a trust for Emily and Josh. Money for college. Money that you cannot touch. Money that will survive your next bright idea. And the rest? He asked. You'll keep it? Yes, I said. I will keep it. Consider it repayment for the villa, for the loans, and for every time I sat in silence while you treated me like a walking ATM. He looked like he was chewing glass. And if we refuse? He asked. If we stay until the sheriff drags us out? Then you will leave with nothing, I said. And the kids will leave with nothing. The auction will cover the debts and legal costs, and that will be the end of it. He stared at the floor for a long time. Does Megan know you bought the mortgage? He whispered. Not yet, I said. I wanted to tell one of you in person first. He nodded slowly. Fine, he said. I'll talk to her. We'll move out. I don't know how, but we will. He stood up, then hesitated. You're enjoying this, he said suddenly. Aren't you? I shook my head. You think I am, I said. But one day, when you're my age, you will understand something. Revenge feels good for about 5 minutes. Peace feels better for the rest of your life. I'm not doing this to enjoy watching you fall. I'm doing it to finally sleep at night. He walked to the door, then turned. We'll never forgive you, he said. I smiled sadly. You said that like it's new, I answered. You stopped forgiving me a long time ago, right around the day I said no for the first time. He left. I closed the door gently. Then I went back to my coffee. The children in the park were still laughing. 2 weeks later, Megan called. Dad, she said, her voice dull, we're moving out this weekend. Where to? I asked. A small rental on the other side of town, she said. 2 bedrooms, no yard, no garage. The kids are upset. I'm sorry they're hurting, I said. Give them my love. Silence. Darren told me everything, she went on. About you buying our mortgage. About the trust. About the choices. All right, I said. I hate you, she said suddenly. The words cracked. I hate you for doing this after everything we sacrificed. I know you feel that way, I said, but one day you might see it differently. You'll die alone in that condo, she spat. And then what? All this money will just sit there useless. Maybe, I said, or maybe it will pay for Emily's college and Josh's first apartment and the therapy you will all need after this. She hung up. I let the phone drop to the table. This was not a victory march. This was slow surgery. You cut out the rot, and it hurts everyone. The auction came and went. A young couple bought the house. The sale price covered everything owed. There was money left over. By law, I could have kept all of it, every cent of the surplus, as the lender collecting on the debt. Instead, I met with Howard again. We set up 2 small trust funds, one in Emily's name, one in Josh's. I was the trustee until they turned 25. The documents were simple, easy to understand, no tricks. Nobody told Megan or Darren the exact amounts. They only knew the money did not come to them. Months passed. I saw my grandchildren on weekends in the park. Sometimes Megan came, sitting on a bench, arms folded, watching us. She no longer asked me for money. She hardly spoke at all. But Emily brought me her drawings, and Josh told me about school, and little by little, the raw anger began to dull in her eyes. Not vanish, just dull. Last month, something happened that finally made me see the full circle. I was in my condo kitchen making tea when there was a knock on the door. When I opened it, Emily stood there. She was 14 now, taller, hair in a ponytail, backpack over one shoulder. "Hey, Grandpa," she said. "Em?" I said, surprised. "Where are your parents?" "In the car," she said. "Mom said I could come up and talk to you alone for a few minutes." I stepped aside. She came in, looked around, and smiled. "I like your place," she said. "It's cozy." "Thank you," I said. "Sit down." She sat at the small table, hands folded. For school, she began, we're doing a project about family stories. My teacher asked us to interview someone older about a big decision that changed the family. Oh, I said carefully. And you chose me? I wanted to choose Mom, she said. But when I asked her about a big decision, she just started crying. That hurt more than any insult. I see, I said. So, Emily went on, I thought maybe I should ask you. Because whatever happened with the lake house, and our house, and everything, that was big. It changed everything, you know? Yes, I said. It did. She took a breath. Mom says you took our house, she said. Dad says you ruined us to punish them. You say you just enforced the rules. I don't know who is right. I just know we used to live in a big house and now we don't. And Mom works at the grocery store and Dad drives Uber, and everyone is tired all the time. But also, we don't get calls from angry people anymore. Dad doesn't disappear for 3 days. And we eat together at the table. She looked at me. Did you do the right thing, Grandpa? She asked. That question has not left my mind since. I thought about the villa, now full of another family's photos. I thought about my old bungalow and this new condo. I thought about Megan's face when she called me homeless. I thought about Linda on the dock, telling me not to let our daughter drown herself in bad choices. I don't know if I did it the right way, I told Emily honestly. But I know that if I kept doing what I had been doing, you would have grown up thinking it is normal to use people, to lie, to depend on others and call them selfish when they finally say no. She nodded slowly. Mom says you never forgave her, she whispered. I forgave her many times, I said. That's why she was able to keep repeating the same mistakes. Sometimes, real love is not another chance. Sometimes, it is a hard stop. She frowned. That's complicated, she said. Yes, I smiled sadly. Life gets complicated when money and love sit at the same table. She pulled a folded paper from her backpack. My teacher said we should write down one sentence that sums up the story, she said. I don't know what to write. She handed me the blank line. I picked up a pen. For a moment I hesitated. Then I wrote, Sometimes a father has to risk his child's anger to save his grandchildren's future. She read it, her lips moving silently, then nodded. That sounds like you, she said. She slipped the paper back into her backpack. At the door she turned. Grandpa? She said. Yes? I don't think you're homeless, she said. You have a home. It's just different now. Smaller, but it feels safe. For the first time in a long time, I felt something unclench in my chest. Thank you, Em, I said. She hugged me, quick, awkward, teenage, and ran back to the elevator. From the balcony, I watched her climb into Megan's used sedan. My daughter looked up at my window. For a second, our eyes met. She did not smile, but she did not look away. That was enough, for now. So here I am, an old man in a quiet condo with a view of the river instead of the lake. No villa, no big house. Just one place that is truly mine. I have become the villain in my daughter's version of the story and the cautious hero in my lawyer's. In my own mind, I sit somewhere in the middle. I lost one house and gave up another. I cut off money to my only child. I bought her debt like a stranger. I forced a sale that pushed her into a smaller life. At the same time, I stopped being used. I protected what I could for my grandchildren. I finally put a clear line between love and financial slavery. Did I do the right thing? I am still not sure. That is why I'm telling this to you. Tell me what you think. If your daughter sold your villa, called you homeless, and expected you to keep paying her bills, would you have done what I did? Would you have bought her debt and taken her house? or would you have forgiven her again? Write in the comments how you would have handled it, and whether you believe my revenge was justice or just an old man's pride.
My grandpa's worst really happened. I believe him. If you want more true tales stories like this, hit subscribe.